Before you begin your comments, please state your name. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to your Fort Worth City Council public comment session. I'll call us to order.
Tonight's invocation will be given by Reverend Chris Mesa, Senior Pastor from Arbor Lawn United Methodist Church. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the pledges of allegiance.
Good evening, everybody. Shall we pray together? Almighty God, as the weather gets a little cooler and the days grow a little shorter and as the holiday seasons grow near, we can't help but reflect back over this past year. There's so much we've been able to accomplish together. God, we thank you for the work we've shared to grow the health and vitality of our city and all of its residents. But there is more to do. There are more people who need care and safety and attention. There are more families and children to feed and protect. There are more neighborhoods in need of infrastructure and services and faithful, strong leadership. Strengthen these leaders to be equal to that task together. Hear our prayers, Lord. Amen.
Sorry, we weren't laughing about the pledge. They moved the flag. And so, yeah, we just automatically tried to turn to look at it.
Mayor and Council, our first item for action will be consideration of the minutes from the September 12th, 19th, and September 26th meetings, as well as the October 10th and October 24th council meetings.
Thank you.
I've got a second. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes all of the action items.
Council, our first speaker this evening by phone call is Bob Willoughby, followed by Dave Fulson.
Okay, I hope you can hear me.
We can.
Okay, I hear that. Go ahead and start the video. And, okay, the video has no sound. I want to do some talking here a little bit. And I know this last week, if you go back and watch the council meeting, well, this one here says we need to address the mayor and not talk to anybody else but the city council mayor. So if that's what you really want me to do, you ask for it. Okay. If you watched last week's meeting where they took away our right to speak, you'll notice when I said that our 3 minutes went from, that we had from 12 minutes a month as free speak to 0. Maddie, your arms went up in the air like you had a spasm or something, but I don't think that's it. I think you're just trying to make it look like I didn't know what I was saying. If anybody can show me a public presentation on the council agenda, then I'll retract that. Otherwise, there's not one. And then what I got to say to Mr. Crane, can you describe what the public presentation, if it's not the right to speak or free speech, what is it? Okay? Because you say it's not neither one of those, so you have to explain that one to us, okay? Now, let's get down to some other stuff here. Let's see. I'm at the school board. I've got a meeting here, too. I was afraid they're going to call me at the same time. Okay, number 3. Oh, yeah. You banned this, me, when you ban me, you can put anything on paper you like, but it doesn't make it true, okay? I asked the attorney, I sent in the attorney to send the documents that support your case for banning me, and there isn't none. So just like, there isn't none. So I'd be crazy not to take and file a suit against this. So I'm going to try not to anyway. So we're going to have to do that because that's not right. You're just abusing your power when you ban me. And the way y'all talk, I mean, that's just terrible. Like when I got off the phone, how y'all get a chance, well, not tonight you won't, but a councilman, you get a chance to rebuttal, and we don't. And geez, the stuff Gina said, that's just unbelievable. But nevertheless, I'm not worried about it. There's not that many people paying attention to you here. And number 5, let's see, I got this written down. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Okay, let's just go down here. We want to mention Chris real quick. I like the way he voted, but what he says sometimes not quite true, Chris. When you say people abuse the agenda or the right to speak and stuff, you're not mentioning the part that it usually comes from the mayor and council not doing their job, which provokes people to act the way they do. That's never mentioned the other side. Just like Channel 8 when they cover me. They didn't show no clips of Maddie. They only showed them of me, you know. They could have shown them a clip of, you know, okay. You could have shown a clip of me or a clip of Maddie doing the quorum and they walked out. She put my name at the bottom of the list and they walked out. Okay, we're doing a full-page ad in the Fort Worth Weekly. Crane was happy about that for some reason. It's going to be about you, Maddie. I guess he's got something against you, maybe. Maybe he wants to run for mayor. I'd watch out there because he was really happy when I saw him run a full-page ad. It's all about you. So it comes out tomorrow, one does, and one will come out each month, maybe two. I don't know. But anyway, that was wrong. Using your power to ban people. That's 100% wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dave Fulson, followed by Adrian Smith.
This is going to be a screamer. I'm trying to get this all into 3 minutes. I'm going to give it my very best. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm Dave Fulson, a lifetime resident of Fort Worth District 5 and the director of the hardworking John T. White Neighborhood Association. I'm a bit late, but here to applaud the bold, long overdue decisions by city leadership to issue in-person council chamber bans on citizens who do not believe council rules or even basic decorum apply to them. Disruptive, rude, slanderous, and even libelous public statements are the trademarks of the speakers affected by this ban. Bob Willoughby in particular has an endless history of making threats, provably false statements, as well as displays of aggressive and threatening behavior from this very podium toward citizens, elected officials, and city staff members. Our city-approved neighborhood association has been his unending target for years, as has virtually every city leader, including our mayor and city manager, to the personal and collective verbal attacks on most of you, our city council members. His constant vitriol also extends to multiple city departments, including police, fire, code compliance, community engagement, and the list goes on and on. This person is, by any definition, at war with the entire city of Fort Worth. Such attacks, he declares, are his First Amendment rights, which in his mind means such statements and baseless claims are somehow protected without limits or exceptions. He's provably wrong again. Slanderous claims and unacceptable behavior, such as he repeatedly displays in these chambers, would result in instant termination of most professional employment jobs and contracts. It would also qualify as immediate grounds for expulsion from airports, airplanes, churches, concerts, sporting events, schools, restaurants, theaters, military, and other civil service. Actually, the list is endless. And it is well past time that our city council chambers have become a place where such toxic behavior is not tolerated and now comes with appropriate penalty. The tiny handful of like-minded supporters this person has attracted have predictably screamed to the heavens and sought media attention to cry foul over the city's decision. Several of them have acted out with foul language at elected officials and city staff or intimidation tactics toward our city employees. But I assure you, 99% of the citizens who regularly participate in person or watch our council sessions on city TV are applauding the current council appearance ban. Further, the vast majority of folks I have personally talked to on this issue, especially as it pertains to Mr. Willoughby in District 5, want to see this ban in its current form become permanent, and none more so than myself. Mr. Willoughby has learned his hard lesson. In closing, any citizen who needs the attention of our city council for legitimate reasons, including this speaker, have ample opportunities to speak and be heard under the current council meeting format. We suffered enough for the self-serving showboating from chronic malcontents whose entire lives seem to be dedicated to their weekly performance in council chambers. It will only get worse, and I ask for many of you to consider and then enforce a permanent solution to this ongoing problem.
Thank you, Mr. Fulson. Our next speaker is Adrian Smith, followed by Jim DeLong.
Adrian Smith, I am one with the people. City Hall belongs to the people, not one particular group of influence, religion, ethnicity, whether you're rich or poor, whether you consider disabled or non-disabled, etc. City Hall belongs to the people. The people is defined as the ordinary people in the country who do not have special power or privileges. So when I say I am one with the people, I am saying I am one with the people, the individuals who identify with the definition I just read. Now, what we just heard from the last speaker, and I don't do names because it would be considered inappropriate based on the council rules of procedure. The purpose of the public comments is to allow residents and other interested parties to address the city council. All speakers shall address the chair and city council members, not the audience or the city staff. What we have with this council is a weaponization of this particular city council, a weaponization to pit the community against each other. We have a mayor who takes people's words out of context for her own personal agendas and reasons to incite thoughts that I feel are unbecoming of someone who is sane. Now, what we just witnessed is, now that individual that just spoke, that's one of Gina Bivens' constituents, and that's typical. That's typical of her. But I digress from that. I concur with what Mr. Bob Willoughby said earlier. And for those young individuals sitting in the audience, it looks like a Boy Scout troop. Please do not be bullies, because the individuals that sit before you, minus maybe one or two, have a bullying complex about themselves. And I end with this, Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Our next speaker is Jim DeLong, followed by Carolyn Rodriguez.
Good evening, I'm Jim DeLong, and tonight I have a red ball. I think everybody here would agree that this is a color red. But if I raised my boys at a young age and I said, Jonathan, do you know what color this is? It's green. What color is it? Papa, it's green. I could teach my son that this color is green and green is called red. And you know what? He could take a lie detector test and pass a lie detector test saying that this ball is green. This proves that perception becomes reality, not necessarily truth. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. We have a war going on in the Middle East. There's a group of people called Hamas. Their perception, which they think is truth, is to have genocide against a people, wipe them off the planet. They'll go to the mat for it. They firmly believe it. They're radical about it. That does not change what is true. But their ideology dictates to them that this is a green ball. They teach it to their kids, and it goes on and on and on. So if we're solution-minded, and Hamas is solution-minded, their solution to the problem is to eradicate the Jewish nation. They're open about it. I'm not saying anything controversial. It's out there for everybody. They believe that their perception is true, and they are willing to go to the mat to the solution that they've deemed as appropriate. However, it's not true. It's false. No matter how much they want to believe the perception, this is a red ball. not green. They can go to the mat for it, but it's still red. So the end of the matter is, what do you view in your ideology, the colors and the perceptions that you have? There's some people up on the dais that think this is a green ball. I've been told that I'm a white supremacist if I don't agree with their ideology. Doesn't change the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeLong. Our next speaker is Carolyn Rodriguez, followed by Rachel Golay. Is Carolyn here? Okay. If y'all check for Carolyn, I'll move to Rachel. If she's here, we'll call her next. Rachel Golay, followed by Yvette F. Carolyn, you can come on down, and then we'll have Rachel.
Okay, so I was going to talk about something else, but I just changed my mind at the last minute. So I wanted to talk about this free speech thing that everybody's starting to talk about here. And this gentleman that just spoke, he's talking about prior restraint. He wants to prevent entirely expression of a speaker. I don't know where he went. He wants to prevent Bob from speaking anymore. But that, when you deprive the public of its right to speak, I mean, you miss what they would have said. So the First Amendment's there for free speech of ideas and values of what people think, and et cetera. But when you take away free speech from everybody, I mean, you just can't do it, because the free speech protects everybody, even the Ku Klux Klan, racism. All those people are allowed to speak because that's what the First Amendment's all about. So you can't do any kind of prior restraint on somebody and say, oh no, they can't be here anymore and they can't speak. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight was the chief of police, like I always do. And what's going on with him is that he said that he was going to be transparent to us, and he's not being transparent at all, because what he won't tell us now is he won't tell us about the chase policy of chasing people when they're in high-speed chases and such. And he said that the reason why he's not going to give us a policy is because the people, okay, let me see, I'll tell you. He said that he's not going to give us a policy on chasing because it could put officers at risk or allow criminals to evade apprehension. Well, when these people are stealing these cars, the cars, if you notice, that they all have in common is they're nice, fancy cars, and they all have insurance on them, right? So when you're stealing a car, you're not really thinking about what's going to happen to you. Because if you really were thinking about what was going to happen to you, we wouldn't have anybody on death row at all, right? We wouldn't have anybody on death row, because if you were thinking about what the consequences were going to be. But we've had so many people killed by high-speed chases here in Fort Worth, it's ridiculous. Recently, it was that Mr. Craig, he was 57 years old, over on Rosedale Street. A couple of months before that, it was a 15-year-old girl in a rollover, all for chases. So now they discovered these people had stolen cars from your flock program, which is another slap in the face, the spy cameras called flock, which remind you of sheep, that we can be controlled like little sheep. But if they catch the people stealing the cars, why can't they catch the people dumping the cars too off the flock cameras? Why do they have to have a high-speed chases? There's other cities that don't have high-speed chases, and they're doing just fine. But when you high-speed chase, you risk so many people. And not only that, the people whose car was messed up, or the people whose car was stolen, gets messed up completely. It's crashed. So what good is the car? It seems like these guys are just really gung-ho on chasing these people and then getting them and firing their guns at them and even breaking their windshields to fire at cars that they're chasing. And I've gotten some body cam footage of these guys chasing cars, and they're like, woohoo, ah! It seems to me like that they don't have any transparency at all. How do we know they don't have a scoreboard in the back of the Felix Street office? Are they keeping score of how many chases they have?
Thank you, Carolyn. Our next speaker is Rachel Golay, Rachel, followed by Yvette F.
Good evening. As a community member of Fort Worth, unlike City Council, I do not support the Israeli occupation, and I support a free Palestine. Long live Palestine. I am Bisan and I am alive, but I'm not sure I will be for long. And if I die, know that I will never forgive the world for my blood, the blood of my people, for our water and food, for our faces and our nightmares. If I die, know that it's the whole world who pulled the trigger. These are the words of Bisan, a young Palestinian journalist in Gaza who every day bravely shares with the entire world the carnage that she and her community are currently facing. As a Jew, I am intimately aware of the refrain, never again, and we should understand this to mean that never again means never again for anyone, including Palestinians. UN experts and ambassadors internationally are calling Israel's indiscriminate violence against Gaza collective punishment, amounting to war crimes, raining down thousands of tons of bombs every day, cutting access to water, food, electricity, and fuel for an entire population of 2.2 million people. We people of conscience whose tax dollars fund these weapons cannot lose our grip on humanity and accept these losses as somehow a cost of war. The UN Secretary General has warned that the Gaza Strip is becoming a graveyard for children, as he, along with rights groups across the globe, are calling for an immediate ceasefire. Over 4,200 children, to be exact, in this graveyard over the past month. Over 10,000 Palestinians in total, all universes of their own gone. I urge us here in Fort Worth not to look away from the genocide that is unfolding in Gaza and do all in our power to end it. I'm frankly terrified by the normalization of this violence against Palestinians that I have witnessed here at home and in the culture of silence and repression that has been imposed around Palestinian suffering for decades. We're seeing in the US a wave of attacks on Palestinians and their allies fueled by false accusations of anti-Semitism, fueled by anti-Arab racism and Islamophobia, and we cannot accept this. And we cannot allow the state of Israel to be conflated with the Jewish community. We must reject this false claim that anti-Zionism is inherently anti-Semitic if we ever are going to have conversations that are grounded in reality. And what I experienced at the March for Palestine in our nation's capital this weekend firsthand, and what I know deeply in my bones to be true, is that Jewish safety and Palestinian freedom are not at odds with one another. Those who seek to pit us against one another do not have our mutual safety in mind. We have a choice, and we will not stand by and allow Bisan and all of Palestine to be erased in words or in deeds at home or abroad. Ceasefire now. None of us are free until all of us are free. Free, free Palestine.
Our next speaker is Yvette F., followed by Diane Wood. Yvette F., followed by Diane Wood.
Mary, Yvette has not answered her phone.
Okay, Diane Wood, followed by Eloy L. Is Diane here? By phone.
Ms. Wood?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
As a community member in Fort Worth for the past 54 years, I'm here to state that I am not in support of the Israeli occupation of Palestine. And I strongly disagree with some of you, city council members. The question, what is occupation of Palestine? That has become a word, a phrase, which has become a cliche, lightly tossed around by politicians as though talking about the time of day. This massive control of Palestine has been going on for decades and decades by the Israeli government, has been happening and is analogous to actually to slavery and the cruel discrimination and violence in this country against Black and African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, and Asians in this country. It is very, very similar. There's really no difference. This continuous stated goal by the government of Israel is simply to wipe out, to destroy all Palestinians. It's openly discussed as a genocidal ethnic cleansing with no recriminations. That's in official government sessions. So the violence that happens to people in Palestine is not new. This is not a new situation. This horrid event has been happening for so long. And by the way, has been ignored by officials in our country. In Palestine, occupation means having no right to vote, having no right to own property, to travel extensively, to leave the country, to access adequate health care, to even travel to a job with many checkpoints people have to go through. They can't get through to many things that they need. People that actually died at those checkpoints waiting for, trying to get to hospitals in Israel. The remains in Palestine are very strong Israeli military presence. Civilians have been being killed forever, for decades. Property has been destroyed. Villages have been actually attacked.
Ms. Wood, are you done? I'm just making sure.
Pardon?
You have a few more seconds, 30 seconds left if you'd like to conclude. I think she might be done. Thank you, Ms. Wood. Our next speaker is Eloy L. Followed by Sadie Fowler.
Hello. As a community member of Fort Worth, unlike City Council, I am not in support of the Israeli occupation. Glory to the resistance and long live Palestine. In the midst of the travesties and tragedies happening across the globe, I would like to question why you choose to side with the oppressors. The audacity and gall to pledge allegiance to a settler state that is recognized internationally as an apartheid is not only lamentable, but outright egregious. The Palestinian and Congolese and Haitian peoples, amongst many others, have been subjected to neocolonialism and imperialism at the hands of the United States of America for generations and centuries. In what world is the blind carpet bombing of civilians an acceptable and legitimate tactic to murder some perceived enemy? Have we not learned from Vietnam, from Korea, from Iraq, from Afghanistan? The United States' interests in all the mentioned regions have never been out of the benevolence and righteousness of its heart, but of the cold and despotic desire for ultimate and unequivocal control of resources to ensure the wealthy stay enriched. They say democracy dies in darkness. If so, what do you make of the Israeli state constantly shutting off power and electricity to Gaza? In my view, 18,000 tons of bombs fully suffices for a darkness where democracy has died. In 100 years, I am positive there will be some holiday or month in remembrance for the genocide being inflicted on the citizens of occupied Palestine. There will be insincere hand-wringing and incredulous statements of disbelief, wondering how anyone could have ever been okay with these atrocities. But I reject this future, where the Palestinians have lost everything. I refuse to be a bystander in the tragic and preventable loss of life. When the olive trees regrow and the sea regains its sovereignty, the oppressed peoples of the world will rejoice in the liberation of Palestine.
Our next speaker is Sadie Fowler, followed by Izzy Loxan.
Mayor, Sadie dropped off and we haven't been able to get her to answer.
I'm here. Okay, there she is, followed by Izzy Loxan.
As a community member of Fort Worth, unlike City Council, I am not in support of the Israeli occupation. Glory to our martyrs, victory to the resistance, long live Palestine. I'm going to read from Israeli historian Ilan Papp about the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. On a cold Wednesday afternoon, 10th of March, 1948, a group of 11 men, veteran Zionist leaders, together with young military Jewish officers, put the final touches to a plan for the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. That same evening, military orders were dispatched to the units on the ground to prepare for the systematic expulsion of the Palestinians from vast areas of the country. The orders came with a detailed description of the methods to be employed to forcibly evict the people: large-scale intimidation, laying siege to and bombarding villages and population centers, setting fire to homes, properties, and goods, expulsion, demolition, and finally, planting mines among the rubble to prevent any of the expelled inhabitants from returning. Once the decision was taken, it took 6 months to complete the mission. When it was over, more than half of Palestine's native population, close to 800,000 people, had been uprooted, 531 villages had been destroyed, and 11 urban neighborhoods emptied of their inhabitants. The occupation of the Palestinian people has been in effect for 75 years, taking genocidal form through the forcible dispossession of the indigenous Palestinian population, their expulsion from their own country, the implantation of an alien sovereignty on their soil, and the speedy importation of hordes of Israeli settlers to occupy the land thus emptied of its rightful inhabitants. 750,000 Palestinians have been martyred by the Zionist regime. This is genocide. 10,000 Palestinians have been killed since October the 7th. And Gaza's 2.3 million residents, half of whom are children, have been under an illegal blockade by land, air, and sea since 2007, depriving them of basic human rights such as drinking water, medical care, and electricity. This genocide against the Palestinian people is very good for business and industry here in the city of Fort Worth. There is documented research of how Elbit tests their many weapons of war on Palestinian civilian populations, and Lockheed has been providing aircraft to the occupation since 1948. With recent pledges to strengthen and fuel growth for Israel, and current projects totaling $4 billion in business with Israeli industries. This is not a war, this is a violent political and physical occupation and an ethnic cleansing by the Israeli occupation. You, our city council, aids and endorses an illegitimate occupation by an apartheid regime, and our city supplies the weaponry crucial in harassing, surveilling, and killing Palestinian martyrs. International.
Next speaker is Izzy Loxan, followed by Faith W.
Good evening. As a community member of Fort Worth, unlike City Council, I am not in support of the Israeli occupation. Glory to our martyrs, victory to resistance, long live Palestine. Dear Fort Worth community, Elizabeth Beck and her council member cronies think you as a community cannot spot the difference between anti-Semitism and what it consists of. They think you are either too cowardly and complacent to care or far too stupid to notice. Councilmember Beck said on October 17th that an attack on Israel is an attack on the Jewish people. But community, please consider that there is a difference between the Israeli government and the people of the Jewish faith or Jewish culture. This is not a religious issue, as there are Palestinians that live in Israel, that are Christian, that are Muslim. Community, I want you to sincerely ask yourselves, since when has anti-Semitism looked like resisting the blind carpet bombings of schools, churches, and hospitals? Since when has anti-Semitism looked like begging for food, water, electricity, or medicine for survival? Since when has anti-Semitism looked like defending your loved ones from the violence of 75 years of military occupation, segregation, cultural erasure, and ethnic cleansing ever been anti-Semitic? And as we continue the struggle for the Palestinian people, as we connect the struggle for the Palestinian people to our own here at home, since when has not wanting our loved ones to be gunned down at traffic stops, questioned for documentation or legal status, or not wanting to be forced out of our neighborhoods ever been racist, rather than a desire to live happy, healthy, and safe lives? Community, I want you to sincerely ask yourselves, why does Israel's version of freedom include the death, destruction, and displacement of the Palestinian homeland and peoples? When you daydream of freedom, does it include the deaths of over 5,000 children, depriving your neighbors of their rights, surveilling their every move, resisting their right to vote? Question why your council members envision and validate Israel's freedom as military occupation, segregation, and genocide. Imagine how that impacts what they imagine freedom means for you. Thank you.
Next speaker is Faith W., followed by Annabelle V.
As a community member of Fort Worth, unlike City Council, I am not supportive of the Israeli occupation. You all have signed a proclamation in support of the state of Israel, stating that Fort Worth is a friend to the Israeli occupation. We are here to tell the community of Fort Worth and Tarrant County that we are acting in solidarity with the Palestinian resistance and liberation movement. Since this proclamation, over 10,000 Palestinians have been martyred, and you all have not said one word to support the Palestinian community here in Fort Worth and throughout the world. You do not speak for the city of Fort Worth, which you all know, as you've been trying to silence us by canceling public meetings, deleting Instagram comments, which is illegal, and hanging up on community members who speak out. As you sit up there, comfortable in your chairs, looking down on your community members, remember what side of history you are on. Each of you are supporting genocide. Maddie Parker, as much as you say you are nonpartisan, I know your pockets are lined deep with money connected to the Israeli occupation, and at the same time Nazis, as you are connected with Greg Abbott and Dan Paxton through your top donors. And for Elizabeth Beck, this is no surprise, as you talk so proudly about your time in Iraq with Operation Iraqi Freedom supporting another invasion. And when We had Nazis in Fort Worth. You all stayed silent. You used this atrocity not to denounce anti-Semitism, but to show your support of Israel and uphold white supremacy, taking the side of the oppressor. There is a difference between supporting the Israeli occupation and denouncing anti-Semitism. We demand a free Palestine, and we are here with the people of Palestine. Glory to our martyrs, victory to the resistance, and long live Palestine.
Our next speaker is Annabelle V., followed by Gabriela Rodriguez. Is Annabelle here? Next speaker is Gabriela Rodriguez, followed by Tamara Hutcherson.
As a community member of Fort Worth, unlike City Council, I am not in support of the Israeli occupation. Glory to our martyrs, victory to the resistance, and long live Palestine. I will keep my remarks to the council brief. I will not strip you of your humanity because that's all that you have left in my eyes, despite not having a backbone. Basic empathy is something you all have traded for empty dollars, and it is not something you could buy back with your self-serving campaigns. I'm happy your bellies are full, and you get to return to your full homes at the end of this evening, even whenever you refuse to feed the thousands of people in the city who need it. You strip everyone else of their own humanity to preserve what? Who knows? To the people listening and watching from home, to the people who are here, and to the people I stand in solidarity within the fight against neo-colonial practices hidden behind white supremacist tears. This includes the White House and Councilwoman Beck's wet cheeks. To the people in the struggle of having their humanity stripped away by the oppressors, I see you. We cry for different reasons, but we mean it. We mean it in grievances. We mean it in war cries. We mean it because we love so much it hurts, and sometimes for everything in between. Take the time to water the ground and hope it reaches the soil of Palestine, because we will not stay quiet whenever it comes to the matters of the heart. We will not have our intentions for the preservation of life all be misconstrued as anti-Semitism. Don't let them tell you who you are and what you stand for, because you already know. For myself, I don't want to see little faces in the rubble. I don't want to see more land being taken away from people who know how to care for it. I don't want to see war crimes, segregation, apartheid, industrialization, other military policing surveillance state. I don't want to see the continuation of the dehumanization without a resistance. All power to the people.
Our next speaker is Tamara Hutcherson, followed by Bill Bergen.
Mayor Parker, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members. As a community member of Fort Worth, unlike City Council, I'm not in support of Israeli occupation. Long live Palestine. As a birth worker and doula, I want to specifically address the women on this council who are mothers. Over 50,000 women are pregnant in Gaza. That is 150 births per day without adequate health care, food, clean water, fuel, or electricity. 5,500 are due to give birth this month. Pregnant women in Gaza are having C-sections without pain relief. Hospitals, overburdened with patients from bombardments and limited medical supplies with low fuel to operate facilities, have seen an increase in labor complications, such as C-sections, placental abruptions, premature delivery, and tripled in miscarriages. One pregnant woman who was injured by Israeli bombardment charred her belly, and as a result, she had to have an emergency C-section. Women who are injured by airstrikes are forced to have emergency C-sections to save their babies' lives. Babies are being issued their death certificates before their birth certificates, and the number of babies who have died before their first birthday is over 100. Newborns in the ICU are in danger due to lack of medical supplies and no fuel for power. Doctors have had to perform hysterectomies on women to save their lives. Women and girls with menstrual cycles, including women who are postpartum, are forced to take period-delaying pills without access to water and hygiene products. In June of 2022, the council unanimously passed to have free menstrual products in city facilities, which was introduced by Councilmember Beck. Your Western feminism is selective to which women are deserving of your advocacy for a safe, healthy, and dignified life. Where is your advocacy for Muslim women, for Arab women, for Palestinian women, for all women? Palestine is a feminist issue. It is a reproductive health and justice issue. As someone who wants to be a mother myself one day, I could never imagine living under these dangerous, life-threatening conditions. So to all the mothers on this dais, I know you wouldn't want that for yourself either. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bill Bergen.
Well, I think I picked a good night, didn't I? My name is Bill Bergen. I live in Council 4. Some of you know me. Some of you that know me are probably thankful I only have 3 minutes because I like to talk. But some of you that know me, that know what I do for a living, know that I can talk fast. So I'm going to get it in here. First of all, a little bit of a disclaimer. Everything that I have to say tonight is my opinion only. I don't represent any organization, any board, any committee that I may or may not serve on. I don't have a blog or a website. I don't write a newspaper article, and I don't think I even have Twitter followers. So what I'm about tonight is about me only and no one else. First thing I'd like to do is to thank each and every one of you for what you do. You don't have an easy job. You get a lot of ridicule, a lot of griping, a lot of complaining, a lot of blaming. But I'm thankful for each and every one of you individually. I'm thankful for what you do. It's not easy. I know you're not in it for the money. If you're in it for the money, I told the mayor one time she'd get a job at Buc-ee's. Pays better. It's probably a little bit more entertaining. But I don't know, the gong show y'all run down here on Tuesday night can be quite a hoot itself. But thank you again. Thank you for what you do. I'm thankful for our city. I'm proud of our city. And I'm proud that we have this opportunity to come down here, that we have this freedom, that we can address our needs and concerns and issues and whatnot. So I have a question. I'm going to ask you guys, who up there knows who Chris Fennell is? Boy, every hand ought to go high, but it didn't. Alan's grinning because Alan thinks he knows. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a month. I'm going to come back next month. And you're going to tell me who he is, and you're going to tell me why, as a city, we need to publicly recognize him and honor him for what he's done. And once again, thank you for what you do. Thank you for my time. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Bergen. Council, that is the conclusion of our speakers this evening. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.